He entered quietly, just like any other patron at Rivergate Credit Union. No one noticed much, just an older man in a wheelchair wearing a patched-up coat and a plain knit cap. But what the woman behind the counter didn't know was that she was sneering at the very man who controlled the fate of the building she stood in. The morning buzz had only just begun in the Portland branch of Rivergate, nestled along a tree-lined street not far from the city's arts district. It was the kind of place where yoga mats shared space with stock portfolios, and the smell of espresso was a constant companion. Gideon Ray, a 67-year-old retired entrepreneur and philanthropist, moved through the bank's sliding doors with a steady pace. His wheelchair didn't slow his confidence. He'd made his fortune in logistics tech, but never let success pull him from his roots. That's why, several times a year, he visited his investments incognito, just to see how people were treated when they weren't wearing a suit. This was one of those days. He rolled into the main hall and paused at the welcome desk, his fingers brushing the side of a small leather notebook he always carried, filled with thoughts, business tips, and observations from his unannounced visits. He believed in catching people off guard. Only then would you see the truth. Behind the desk stood a woman named Caitlin Drew. Late 30s, crisp blouse, tight bun, and an air of superiority so thick you could almost hear it before she spoke. She glanced up, took one look at Gideon's clothes, his chair, his skin, and dismissed him without blinking. "Yes," she said, barely looking up from her monitor. "I'd like a moment with the branch director," Gideon replied, his tone respectful but clear. "Do you have an appointment?" Her voice had the brittle edge of someone used to saying no. "No, ma'am. Just need a moment." She clicked her tongue, then leaned over to a colleague and muttered loud enough to be heard. "Another one thinking they'll get special treatment." A man nearby, a janitor taking a short coffee break, froze mid-sip. A college student in line shifted uncomfortably. A young woman in an oversized hoodie looked up from her phone. The lobby wasn't loud, but it felt loud. Gideon's hands clenched the notebook a little tighter, but his face didn't change. He'd seen worse than this. People talking over him. Officers checking his ID 3 times. Being told the waiting room was full. But something in Caitlin's voice stirred something deeper, something that felt like betrayal. He'd built this place, funded it with his own money, ensured employed locals and gave back. And now, here he was, just another nobody. A young bank associate named Ruben Montez, maybe 25, overheard the exchange and stepped forward cautiously. "Ms. Drew, maybe it's best we hear him out." Caitlin shot him a warning glance. "I said I've got it. Don't insert yourself." Ruben hesitated, then looked at Gideon. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Solidarity. Respect. Gideon leaned forward slightly. "Please, just pass this along to your branch director." He handed her a sealed envelope stamped with a gold crest. Caitlin rolled her eyes and shoved it back toward him. "We don't process random documents. If you're here to complain, take it online like everyone else." That's when another employee, Trina Yao, a customer care lead, began discreetly recording from her phone. She'd seen Caitlin brush off customers before, especially the ones who didn't wear expensive clothes, but this felt worse. Meaner. More personal. Trina's fingers trembled slightly, but she kept recording. "I'm not here to complain," Gideon said, voice quiet but cutting through the air. "I'm here to check how the team treats guests when they think no one is watching." Caitlin rolled her eyes again. "Look, we're busy. Either wait like everyone else or leave." Gideon didn't move. Instead, he nodded toward Ruben. "Can you make sure the envelope gets to the director? It's time sensitive." Ruben picked it up, eyes scanning the emblem. His expression changed. "You need to see this," he said to Caitlin. "Now." Caitlin scoffed, but watched as Ruben walked off briskly toward the back offices. Moments later, a tall woman in a burgundy suit emerged. Lana Prescott, the regional manager. Her eyes scanned the room, landed on Gideon, and immediately lit up. "Mr. Ray," she said with warmth and respect, "you should have told us you were coming." The room fell into stunned silence. Caitlin's face paled, her earlier bravado dissolving. "Wait, he's Mr. Ray." Gideon nodded politely. "It's all right. I prefer to keep things unscripted." Lana took his hand, then looked at Caitlin. "My office." "Now." Caitlin stammered, but Gideon raised a hand gently. You don't need to know someone's name to treat them with basic decency. From that moment on, everything shifted. Caitlin was suspended that same day. The video Trina captured circulated internally, then leaked. Comments poured in. Conversations followed. A movement began. Within a month, Gideon launched the Respect First program at Rivergate, focused on frontline empathy, community accountability, and hidden audit training. Post-it walls where customers could leave anonymous feedback became permanent fixtures in every branch. Trina became a team lead. Ruben was promoted to internal training coordinator. What started as a cold encounter in a Portland bank lobby grew into a national model for respectful service. And Gideon? He still makes his rounds. Same notebook, same quiet power. Because dignity, he believes, should never depend on perception. Months after that unforgettable morning at Rivergate Credit Union, the ripple effects of Gideon Ray's quiet stand continue to transform not just the bank, but the wider community. What began as a moment of casual cruelty in a sunlit lobby became a wake-up call, one that echoed far beyond Portland. The Respect First program, now adopted by financial institutions across the region, has become a model for how businesses can rebuild trust where it's been broken. Workshops led by community leaders teach empathy through lived experience. Story walls, inspired by Gideon's original notebook, are filled daily with anonymous feedback, both praise and painful truth. And unlike before, someone is always reading. Inside Rivergate, the culture has shifted. Trina Yao's once nervous act of defiance with her phone has earned her a role in corporate communications, helping train others on the importance of frontline integrity. Her voice, once hesitant, is now amplified. Ruben Montez, who stood up when it counted, leads the Respect First training division. He still keeps a copy of Gideon's letter on his desk, proof that one decision to do the right thing can change everything. Caitlin Drew's dismissal was swift but fair. In her silence after, there was reflection. Word quietly spread that she later began volunteering at a local community center, offering resume workshops to formerly incarcerated individuals. Whether from guilt or growth, it was a beginning. Gideon, as always, remained in the background. He didn't want his name on plaques or his face on press releases. That morning hadn't been about ego. It was about observation, about truth. He still visits branches unannounced, still wears that old coat, still watches how people treat the unseen. At a city forum held months later, Gideon was invited to speak. The auditorium was packed, community leaders, bankers, students, and city officials. As he rolled onto the stage, the room fell quiet. "I wasn't trying to catch anyone," he began, his voice steady. "I wasn't setting a trap. I just wanted to see whether people here still recognize dignity when it wasn't wearing a suit." A pause. "Turns out, we've got some work to do. But we're doing it." The crowd rose in applause, not because they were impressed, but because they were moved. This story isn't just Gideon's. It belongs to every person who has ever been overlooked, underestimated, or judged by the surface. It belongs to anyone who has ever thought, "Why speak up? It won't change anything." It does. It did. Dignity doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need a title or a nameplate. It walks quietly into a room and waits to be seen, or not. The choice is always ours. So ask yourself, when someone walks through your door, who do you see? That question may just be the beginning of your own ripple. So ask yourself, when someone walks through your door, who do you see? That question may just be the beginning of your own ripple. Because respect isn't about grand gestures. It's found in eye contact, in patience, in the pause before judgment. It's built choice by choice, moment by moment. And if enough people choose differently, we don't just change policies, we change the world.